Life before 180TC. For me, it started off when I was 5 years old. My parents were divorced. I was the black sheep of the family. I was expelled at a young age out of primary school. I was pronounced ADHD as a kid. I was next level. Had a lot of energy. Didn't really know what to do with myself. Never had that father figure to direct me in life. And I ran an absolute muck. My mother couldn't keep up with me. And basically, I guess everyone sort of pointed the finger up, expecting me to go down the life of crime. And I eventually pulled my socks up and went to boarding school and did 6 years boarding school at St Joseph's College at Hunters Hill there. But I never had a father figure. I never had that person to guide me and make the right decisions. I sort of had to learn from making mistakes in life. And I made a lot of mistakes, Eventually, I guess I did make the right turn and decision, and I fell in love with a beautiful girl, Christine, which she became my wife. And she, things were going good for me. I seemed to leave that trouble side of me behind. I was on a good path. We saved up, bought a house together, were married, and things started looking positive in some respects. But underneath, I hid from her, and I hid in this bubble, and I didn't let anyone know what was really in my heart. And there was a lot of anger, a lot of pain, a lot of things I hadn't dealt with. And unfortunately, it all blew up in my face for me. So. What led me to 180TC? I guess along the way, when things became, too much to handle, I started abusing drugs. I was always in that party scene, always going to raves, always that kid that was the life of the party. I never missed out on anything. And I was a big social butterfly in terms of hanging around the crowd, and I was the life of the party, but I started hanging around the wrong people. And during my second year of marriage, I was involved in organised crime. And it just spiraled out of control for me. I started using methamphetamine on a weekly basis. Then it became twice a week, 3 times a week, 2 times a week, and then the other way around. And then basically every single day I was smoking methamphetamine, and still managing to keep down a job, still managing to pay the bills at home, and the whole time hiding it from my wife. And I was really, really good at hiding it from her. I guess it took 7 years for me to come unstuck. And unfortunately, I was a good thief. I was very good at what I did. I was involved in heavily organised crime. A task force ended up taking me down, coming out to my house, and in front of my wife arresting me, in front of my son arresting me, and in jail, 2-year court case later, wife left me. I lost my home, I lost my dignity, I lost everything overnight. And I finally realised that the drugs had destroyed my life. It was very hard for me to admit it. It was very hard for me to, come to terms with I was an addict and I was powerless over my addiction. And when you find yourself in that moment where it's a black hole, and it's very hard to get out of, and unfortunately I had to learn the hard way. And I was given basically the ultimatum from my wife and my family that if I didn't address the issue, there was no coming back for me. So, suspended sentence later, then back into court. I started, my lawyer basically said, why don't you try and kick for goal and try and get yourself into a rehab. I was so against it. I was basically telling myself just to go back to jail, it would be much easier. My wife had already left me, my house was gone, my cars were gone, my things were gone, my money was gone. What else was there to live for? I couldn't see my son, and no one wanted me to do no one wanted anything to do with me, and I pushed every single one away that I cared about. And that's when I said to him, and I agreed, and I spoke to my mum for the final time, and I said, okay, I'll try 12 months rehabilitation. At first it was just for court. At first it was just to look good on paper. And I was looking at 18 months sentence or 12 months rehab, and 2 weeks here and a letter from 180TC later, I found myself in the program. First impressions of 180TC. For me, it started with a little dark guy from Transition. I received a video at 2 AM one night telling me about this place. Obviously, I was shattered. I was in a dark place. I was broken. I was struggling to put the pieces together in my head. I made threats of suicide to my family, just because I didn't want the hard option. I just wanted the easy option. And unfortunately, I got the easy option, and always someone bailed me out my whole life, but this time it was rehab. So my first impression was, when I drove up that driveway, was, what the hell, what have I got myself into? I remember going to it was a Tuesday when I came in. I remember seeing Kipper, and I was thinking, I should not be here. I remember going into the chapel service, and I actually cried and walked out, and I started walking down the driveway because I had nothing in the tank, I think. I thought, who are these blokes singing in a room? What do they have that I don't know about? And frankly, I didn't really want to know about it. Yeah, I was playing that card of, I'm only here because I don't want to go to jail. There's no one here that could possibly have any impact in my life. What would they know? How could they help me? Yeah, so, yeah, the journey here was terrible. The grounds were terrible. It stank. My room was terrible. I was used to 5-star resort, compared to this place. My roommates were terrible. I had a bloke from Tasmania and a bloke that screamed in his sleep. The whole place, the food, everything was negative. It was negative butler. I was just absolute negative. Yeah, unfortunately, my mindset was negative. And yeah, I didn't want to know about the program. I didn't want anything to do with the program. So my first impressions weren't good of 180TC. The biggest challenges why I've been here at 180TC would have to be the restoration of my family and my marriage. My marriage was broken. I had a wife who didn't want to talk to me, basically didn't want to know me. And it wasn't till, due to disciplines and due to my actions, I came in August, obviously, and I didn't get my first leave till 2 months after I started here because of the way the way I acted in front of a staff member. And I showed no respect at all. So yeah, it was hard for me for the first 2 months, but the biggest challenge definitely was explaining to her why I couldn't see her. And when I finally did, again, it was the old me. It was the mark that she was used to. Pointing the finger at everyone else and not owning it, And that was the biggest challenge for me. The other one was, of course, Finay. Oh God, I love him now. But when I first came in, I was wondering how a man of God who's half my age, not a father, never been in addiction, was going to have any impact on me and my family and me restoring, rebuilding and rescuing what I needed to do whilst in the program. So the biggest challenge for me was sitting there in the moment and just putting down those walls and allowing someone to speak some life into me, because the negative thought pattern in my head was out of control, and obviously the decisions and the decisions I made were outrageous. So I guess that challenge that someone else is in control of my life, because due to my actions, I didn't deserve to be in control. That was the hardest challenge for me whilst here at 180TC. Biggest highlights for me at 180TC. Well, of course, everyone knows I've got a beautiful wife who's stuck by me. So at about the 6-month mark, she put her hand on my leg at church, and yeah, for anyone that's a father out there or I've got a wife, you know how that feels when they look at you in those eyes and they tell you they still love you. That was the biggest moment in this place for me. It made it all worth it. I made it the realization that I was on the right track. Yeah, and at the 7-month mark, we both gave ourselves to God and were both baptised at Hillsong Church. That was the moment where I left everything in the pool, I think, and eventually I got the opportunity to restart my marriage all over from scratch. We are currently moving in together, which when I leave the program in a couple of days, when you guys are watching this video actually, I'll be moving back in with her, and she might be sitting in that room hopefully. But I get to move back in with Christine and my son. So you can't pay for that. That's the ultimate for me. And the other highlights for me whilst being in the program were watching guys like Mitch Macker get to renew his family and restore his family, and getting to see his kids. Mick Kivas, another father, getting to see his family for the first time and what was, spend the first weekend with his kids. Little Ethan making the right decision to stay in the program instead of doing waterproofing. Young Wilso, growing up from being a seagull to a man of God and just serving the community. My 2 roommates, a shout out to you 2 blokes. I could not have done this without you. You have been my rock. You have been everything to me. You mean the world to me, you too. And obviously the whole community, but last not least, Nath Wingate, mate. I love you, bro. You are the most placid human being, the most generous heart I've ever met in someone, and I love what you've done. As a person, as a man, while you've been in this program. I loved every minute in here with you, man, and that's been a massive highlight for me. I love you, mate. And I guess the other one for me as well would be spending the time to get to know the guys in here, their stories. I've never done this journey in this 12 months not trying to be a part of the community. I always tried to be one of the boys and just, I don't know, not find out the bad stories or the good stories, but just try and be amongst the group. And you've all turned like, you're all brothers for me. You're one big family. I'm going to miss you all. I am absolutely going to miss every single one of you. You're all brothers for me. I love you all. Plans for after 180TC. For me, it's number one goal, be a present father, a husband that I can make my wife proud to be able to call her a husband. I think they're the biggest goals for me. Obviously work, being able to give back to my family and in respect to everyone that's stuck by me in this journey, because without them I wouldn't have made it through here. And obviously, if any one of the boys need in here if they need anything, if I can help, I will, because I get it, I understand it. I'm a father, I'm a son. I understand how hard this process is, And mate, shout out to everyone trying to do this program. Respect, because it's not an easy task. Yeah, so my goals are just to give back, I guess, just to be a present dad and make my wife proud of me again, I guess. Final encouragement would have to be, boys, no matter what season you're in, no matter how hard you think it is, no matter what people have taken away from you, you are good enough. You can get through this. And if you do the 12 months, I promise you, I absolutely stress this enough. If you can do this, it is all worth it in the end. Yeah, I just want to be that guy that people can look at and say, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it. And love yous all. I'll miss you all. Good luck. God bless.